Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whatever the I Want podcast, where I host Gaby gets to talk about whatever the I want. And before I start today's episode, I just want to talk about how I am channeling my inner prison Mike. So if you don't know, the worst part about prison is the Dementors. So don't get into prison, y'all. So today's episode was actually inspired by a podcast episode that I was watching by somebody else. The podcast is called The Masu Minawala Show. And the episode is called Manifesting Wealth, Improving Self-Esteem, and Breaking Money Blocks. I will be going into all the things that I learned, and I will also be linking their podcast episode below. This episode was with Marissa Peer, and she essentially gives advice and tips on how to go through your money blockages. Alrighty, so let's get to it. Marissa shared that at around 7 years old, your beliefs on money have already been embedded into your subconscious. So think about where you were at 7 years old and what your family finances looked like. And these patterns continuously show up in your life until you decide to rewrite them. So whenever you think about it, a baby isn't born thinking that they don't have enough. They don't think that they're not inherently worthy or deserving of things. So babies come into the world knowing that their needs will be met no matter what time they wake up, no matter if they spit up on their clothes, no matter what their circumstances look like, they know that their needs are always going to be met. So if we can start from the beginning, if we can learn it, we can also unlearn it. So that's something positive to look forward to when it comes to literally anything in your life that you're trying to rewire your subconscious mind about. So money blocks. So think about some things that maybe you don't really realize that you say or think about money. For example, growing up, your family might have said, "We can't buy that. I need to find the money to do that. Money doesn't grow on trees." That was something I was told a lot growing up. Who do you think you are asking for things? I don't know where the money is going to come from. People like us don't have money. It's hard to make money. It's also something that I was told. You have to work hard to make money. Men don't like women who make money. Men should be the breadwinners of their household. You have to work hard and long hours to make money. Some parents might have said, "I can't stretch a dollar." You need to hustle and you need to be exhausted in order to make money. You need to be frugal to make money. You need to live below your means. I was told that a lot. You can enjoy your life and have money because if you spend it, it's gone. You can't enjoy your life and have money because if you spend it, it's gone. Essentially, re-embedding the belief that money can or cannot buy happiness, depending on what you were told. If you have money, you'll attract gold diggers. You don't know how to grow your money. Women shouldn't make that much. People only want you for your money. It's lonely at the top. So this is just like a list of things that maybe you might believe. And so if you want to share in the comments below, what is something that you were told as a kid surrounding money? So, and then we have our beliefs about wealthy people, right? So you might call somebody a rich bitch. Somebody's filthy rich, associating that term with wealth needing to be dirty money or money that is laundered or money that is not earned authentically. You might call somebody a fat cat. There's the belief that when you're rich, you have to be careful of who your friends are, right? Because people only want to be your friend because of your money. So this can make you sabotage your ability to make wealth. So for example, 70% of lottery winners are bankrupt in 3 years. That also happens with people who inherit wealth. Why does this happen? Because people believe that they didn't earn it, so they don't deserve it. There's guilt surrounding it because you feel like I earned this, so I took away from somebody else. Or maybe if you inherited money, it was, hard-earned money from your grandparents. And so you're like, it's not mine. So then you just spend it aimlessly. There's people who also isolate themselves whenever they have a certain amount of money because they don't trust people. They're like skeptical of who they can allow into their lives based off of the amount of money in their bank account. So these are also things that we need to be keeping in mind. So people also associate rich people with being villains in movies. That in order for you to be a humble person, you have to be poor, right? A humble person is poor. Mother Teresa, all these saints, they were poor. That's what made them a good person. And think about it. Religions and a lot of other things are embedding these things into our brain that no, to be humble, you should be poor. You should be living on the streets and you should just be giving back to people. And is that really what wealth is? Think to yourself about these things. They're not true, but we believe it to be true. And so that is where rewiring your subconscious mind comes into play. So ask yourself, what are some things that you believe about money? So, for example, one thing that I was thinking about this morning was whenever we would go to McDonald's, we would only order things off the dollar menu. That's what it was growing up. It was like you can only order things off the dollar menu. And we shared sodas, we shared French fries, but we were allowed to get like a hamburger or whatever. And the only other time that we would go to McDonald's and not order something off of the dollar menu was whenever they had a promo that I believe was like buy one, get one for a penny. And so we would get like, that would be the day that we would get a quarter pounder or we would get a McDouble, I don't know, what is a Big Mac or whatever. So, our parents didn't really understand that they were instilling these psychological subconscious beliefs in us, but they were. So thankfully, I didn't hear my parents argue about money, ever really talk about money in that way. If anything, I kind of saw them open up their minds to making money. So, for example, we would drive around houses and like look at their lawns, and my mom would be like, "Oh, I like these windows. Oh, I love this fountain. I love all these things." And so we would actually go around looking at other people's houses and things like that to get ideas. So, as much as your family can instill in you negative beliefs, they can also instill in you very positive beliefs. So that is something to keep in mind. So I really recommend utilizing this episode to inspire you to do shadow work. Shadow work is basically where you give yourself prompts and you answer them honestly and you try to get to the root of where these problems exist. That way you can start rewiring your brain to then believe the new belief, because whatever you believe to be true is true to you. So you can totally relearn these things. I have never read the Bible, but she mentioned a quote saying that money is the root of all evil. And the quote actually says, in reality, the expense of everything else is the root of all evil. Don't know the quote. I mean, I've heard the saying, money is the root of all evil, which is totally not true. One thing that I was thinking about was, I don't know if it was from another podcast episode or what, but I've been trying to get over the idea of like, oh, rich people are selfish or all of these things. And so there's plenty of wealthy people who will buy acres of land to help preserve areas of nature, to help rehabilitate butterfly populations and things like that. So, like, you don't have to associate money with being a negative thing. So, think about these things and look up to people who inspire you. Like, for example, Zac Efron is somebody who is, I think we would all describe to be successful, and he has a docu series about the coral reefs and about nature and how we need to do our best to preserve the earth. So there's people like him who, have acted and, gone about other avenues of their life, and it doesn't have to have a negative association. Wealth doesn't, but sometimes we choose to believe those things. So people might also think, if I spend too much, I won't have any later. And by having this belief, you're essentially saying that money is limited. Money doesn't come back to me. And it's crazy because my dad said a lot growing up that he was told money comes and goes. And I think that that's so valid, because whenever you're spending money, you need to understand that you're always going to make it back, and you're always going to make it back tenfold, and you can afford your things. And so that's why whenever you are spending your money, you need to be grateful for it, rather than paying your rent or your mortgage and thinking, oh, I don't have any money for the rest of the month. Instead, change that into, wow, I have a roof over my head for another month. Like, change your perspective on these things whenever you are spending money. If you're buying protein powder, instead of saying, oh my gosh, why does this cost $40? Instead say, I'm investing $40 into my health. Oh, my gym membership costs this much a month. oh, my yoga classes cost this much a month, my haircuts, my nails, blah, blah, blah. Instead, see it as an investment into who you are, into who you want to be, the life that you want to have, rather than seeing it as something that is holding you back or hindering you. Money doesn't have to be something that limits you. Money should be something that helps expand your mind, expand your opportunities. And so that is why this episode is so vital, and I highly, highly recommend to watch the episode that I'm basing this off of, and just to rewire your brain and your beliefs about everything, but especially money. So, one thing that they were talking about is whenever you have kids, you have to be careful of what you say to your child. So, oftentimes, and even my parents did this, the way that we would earn money was through chores, right? And I couldn't even tell you how much we were earning. And, for a very long time, we didn't get paid to do our chores. But once, I started learning that my friends did or whatever, I brought it up to my parents, and we would also get paid for having good grades. So instead of paying your child to do chores, which could be like washing dishes, doing laundry, those things like that, you're now allowing for your child to associate money with those tasks. So like, money has to be hard work, money has to be dirty work, money has to make me sweat, I have to do these unwanted jobs, because what kid is like, yeah, I want to do my chores, like now they're associating that negative emotion with money. Oh, I didn't think about that, right? Here you are thinking that you're doing them a favor, but really you're just hindering them and their experience with money. So instead, what you should do is allow your child to get paid for what they're good at. Okay, example. She mentioned that if your child is an artist, for example, they love to draw or paint. Now pay them to make your Christmas cards. Pay them to make Valentine's Day cards for their whole class. Pay for them to draw a painting for you in the living room. And so now they're associating exchanging money for your skills, for the things that you're passionate about. You have a child who loves mechanical stuff. Okay, pay them to change your oil. Pay them to, I don't know, maybe they love recycling. Pay them to now make bracelets made out of something that is recycled. Maybe your child loves to garden. Pay them to tend to your garden. Pay for them to, I don't know, like maybe they like pulling out weeds. Like I'm somebody who, I love giving haircuts. I love doing, hands-on stuff. So like maybe my family could have paid me to cut my sister's hair, which I mean at 4 years old, I definitely did and butchered it. But, at a certain point, you should be paying your child to do things that they're good at. Maybe they love their dogs. Maybe they want to be a vet in the future. Pay your child to feed the dogs, take them out on walks, whatever. But play into what they're passionate about, play into what it is that they're interested in. Maybe they love baseball and they're, playing competitively. Okay, well then pay them for that. And then, in turn, they'll more than likely become a renowned baseball player. And it's because they have that belief at such an early age of I can do this and I can make money off of this, that they're so successful. So that was a really, really cool thing that I learned throughout this episode. And also, say that you're taking your child to the store rather than buying them something every single one, because then at that point you're giving them instant gratification, and they're now expecting something every single time they go to the store. Rather than doing that, go to the counter and say to your child, "You can have this for your birthday. You can have this for a holiday, whatever." Don't tell them that they can't have something. You can't have this because I don't have the money for it. You can't have this because of blah, 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 blah. Say, you can have this, but I'm going to need for this thing to happen first. So I know that, for some people it's like bargaining, but, you can say like, I will reward you with this whenever you do XYZ. And then it in turn makes them have something to look forward to. Oh, okay. Well, I have my birthday to look forward to. I have, another holiday to look forward to, or maybe even at the end of the school year, I'm allowed to pick out a gift, whatever. So it's important to find the root of all of your problems, issues. So think about these things. Like, did your parents work multiple jobs? How did your parents go about having money? Did they teach you that if you wanted a pair of shoes, there would be no money for the bills? That's something that they talked about. Like, well, if I buy you those sneakers, well, guess we won't have running water. if I buy you this thing, guess we can't have this. We won't have any electricity. And so then you're teaching your kid that money is scarce, money is hard to come by. I can't have the things that I want. And so I mean, you really, really don't think about how much your words do hold weight. Another thing that she mentioned was that she once was out to eat, or she went to like the grocery store with a friend, and she was taught growing up to always buy the cheapest chocolate. It didn't matter what it tasted like, it didn't matter what flavor it was, it didn't matter the brand, anything. You always buy whatever's cheap. And her friend was like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this. I'm actually gonna buy the more expensive one because it's healthier." And so then she put in. Now she was realizing as a kid, like, wow, I didn't ever think about how you should invest into your health. So, a lot of these things and the way that you perceive money is an investment into who you are, into your future self, into your health. I have an app called Yuka, and I use it to scan items, and you essentially get to see how healthy it is. Are the ingredients high risk, low risk? And it's crazy because whenever I don't use it, I'll buy something and I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing says poor. Like, this thing's actually not good for me. Which I have to do like another episode on like things that I've like changed throughout my routine. But I'm now being more aware of what it is that I'm buying because it's going into my body. And that is so important. It's me investing into my health because health is wealth. Again, that's a positive money belief. Health is wealth. So you're not just thinking about money in that sense. You're thinking about wealth in terms of like who you are, like at your molecular level. And so you should be investing into, a gym or I don't know, maybe you pay to go to a running club, whatever it is that you want to pursue, or whatever avenue you find that is beneficial for you or that encourages you or motivates you, you should be investing into those things. And that also includes your grocery shopping. It includes the water that you're drinking. It includes all of those things. So be extremely mindful of what you're putting into your body. And this will also show you how your relationship with money can show up in your daily life. So one thing is that, so she grew up buying things secondhand. So that's something that I related to. We went to a lot of thrift stores growing up, but my parents never necessarily phrased it as we don't have money to go to normal stores. My mom growing up would say, like, you'd find a t shirt for like $3, and she's like, that's so expensive. I'm only going to buy something on the clearance rack. If it's not on sale, it's not meant for me. I didn't think, here I am, like, oh, she's being savvy, right? She's being but hello, she's being frugal with her money. So what Marissa talked about was how sometimes it's okay to treat yourself to stuff. It's okay to want to buy a new pair of shoes. It's okay to want to buy a new shirt. And so now I'm reframing thrifting instead of like, oh, I'm saving money, which obviously is, quote unquote a perk, but you shouldn't think about how you need to save money because then you're thinking that money is scarce. You should be spending your money how you want to. So I am now rephrasing thrifting, which we've always known is eco-friendly, it's sustainable. So I'm not thrifting to save money, I'm thrifting to save the environment. And so that is one way that you can spin and change your perspective on other things that you're doing that, might subconsciously have been to save money, but are now even more beneficial in even bigger ways. So she talked about too how some rich people that she works with are still trying to save money or look for the best deal. And so she talked about it how time is money. So sometimes she'll be scrolling, for like an hour trying to find the best deal on a flight to get from one place to another. And she doesn't think about how much how much time she's wasting doing that. And so that's kind of like a poverty mindset is what she called it, because you're now spending an hour trying to save a couple bucks on a flight when you could have just had that hour of time back for yourself and just booked the first flight that you saw that was convenient for you. Do you see the difference there? Like, it's about changing your mindset and understanding that you can afford it. You can. So why are you trying to save $30 here or there whenever That's thinking that money is scarce. That's thinking that these opportunities are scarce. That's thinking that these trips are scarce. They're hard to come by. No, you should be expanding your mind and thinking money is easy. Money flows to me. Like money put a roof over my head. And you have to see things as an exchange. I'm not exchanging my services for money. I'm exchanging my time. Like, for example, me making these podcast episodes and stuff. I'm exchanging my time for money. I'm exchanging my time for connection, for allowing for other people to expand their consciousness and to change their perspective. So change your perspective on the way that you think about things, because or else if you think negatively, you're just going to think everything is a waste. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of this, it's a waste of that. So no more saying that. And so she also talked about how the thing that people fight over the most is money. And she said even billionaires do this. There's more than enough money to go around. And so she mentioned making two lists. Make two lists about wealth and who would benefit from it. Who would benefit from you being wealthy? Who would you employ? What charities would you give to? Who would you put through school with you having money, right? Okay, so on the second list, you should write what's wrong with you having money. And so for some people it's that, oh, people won't like me, people will think I'm greedy, people will think of me differently. And so your first list about who would benefit from money should cancel out the second list, because in reality there's so many more pros to you being wealthy than there are cons. So allow for yourself to really really write down and get to the bottom of it. Why do I feel this way? Where did this come from? And so she mentioned that like spiritual people can have money. You can totally be a Christian, a religious person, a spiritual person, and have money and be successful. You don't need to be frugal to be humble. You can be rich and humble. That totally exists. And so another exercise that she gave was, what are the things that you grew up hearing about money? So, money doesn't grow on trees. I don't know where the money is going to come from. Rich people have too much money. If you have a lot of money, you won't have friends. There's not enough money to go around. And so then she talks about replacing the word money with energy. Energy doesn't grow on trees. I don't know where the energy is coming from. Rich people have too much energy. If you have a lot of energy, you won't have friends. There's not enough energy to go around. And you really just think about how silly that is. How silly is that? Because money's energy. I've learned about this. You hear it all the time from, people who are manifesting and who are on this side of reality, that you get to create your own reality. You hear these things that it is energy. And so how silly does that sound? That there's not enough energy to go around. That sounds ridiculous. And so that's what you're essentially telling yourself, because what happens is we put money above us. And that happens with a lot of things that you're manifesting in life. And, you put your partner above you. You put, a job that you're manifesting above you. I couldn't possibly get that. It's above me. And instead saying like, no, I can totally get that. I'm totally qualified for this job. The job is mine. It's about having that confidence. It's about understanding that you are worth these things, and that maybe you don't have the same resume as the other applicants, but you have something that the recruiters just there's something about you that they want to hire you because of that. Maybe the only difference between you and a couple other people is that you know another language, or maybe it's just the way that you handle certain situations. And so stop thinking that you are being limited when it's you that's limiting yourself, and in turn the universe and reality, God shows you what you think that you're worth and what you're valued. And so if in a relationship you want more, if in life you want more, if at your job you want more, then what do? You ask for it. I want more. I want a raise. I want this. I want that. I want for you to be more communicative in this relationship. I want for you to show up in this way for me. I expect for you to show up in this way for me, because there's nothing more powerful than somebody who knows their power, somebody who's just willing to just drop everything and walk away. You don't want to give me that raise? Okay, well, I've been here for a year and I have worked efficiently at the job, and I know I'm the only person in the office who speaks Spanish, and I released the Spanish newsletter, and that in turn brought in 5,000 people into our emailing list. And so, fine, if you don't think that I'm worth that, okay, well, then I'll have to leave. Thank you for your time. Because then it shows people like, oh shit, like she is right. There's if you're asking for a raise and you're like, oh my gosh, so I was wondering if you could if I could have a raise for like $5,000 because I brought in the 5,000 people for the newsletter, and I do speak Spanish and it has been really beneficial. And it's like, oh, there's a huge difference in energy between somebody who knows what they want, who has their shoulders pushed back, and who is like, this is what I'm demanding, versus this is what I think that I deserve, and I just don't really, I hope that you see that. Like, no, stand in your power, know who you are. Like, and if a company can't meet you where you're at, then they're not there for you. That job did what it did for you, and now it's just time to grow. And that's what would happen with me. I would like I'd put my jobs above me and my wants and my needs. And then it took for me to be like, okay, well, I'm fucking done working for people, to then now start taking myself seriously. Imagine if I would have been taking myself seriously and been confident all those years ago, where I would be at now. Now, it's not for my job to ponder on that, but it's just like, think about what rewiring your brain and becoming confident does for you now, changing those things. Because then in 5 years from now, 10, 15, 30 years from now, your life is going to be entirely different. Even in a week from now, if you start changing your thoughts, changing your beliefs, becoming more positive, looking for the silver lining in things, I guarantee you're going to start just feeling lighter going about life. Why are you stressing about next month's rent when you just paid this month's rent? Be grateful. Okay, I'm so happy I got to pay my rent. Now I have a roof over my head. My kids get to go to sleep on their mattresses, and and I have food in the fridge, and I have this, like, think about the things that you're grateful for and the things that you have, because the more that you focus on what you don't have, the more that will grow. Energy goes where attention flows. If you think that you do not have, the world will reflect back to you what you do not have. If you think about what it is that you do have, the world will continue to show you what you do have. So, she mentioned that the words that you say are important and vital. So, people are sometimes good at receiving things, but they don't want to actually spend it. So maybe you're good at like getting money, right? I have family who are so frugal, but they're millionaires. Like, I'm not even fucking kidding you. I have family, and if you're watching, you know who you are. I have family who are millionaires, have several properties, rental properties, but will not, when they go to dinner with their family, will have every single individual couple pay whenever they have the money to pay for it. And whenever you think, like, some people don't tip. Some people literally do not tip. They don't buy things, and they don't invest into themselves. And you have the opposite. You have people who just spend, and they don't know how to keep money, right? So you have the people who just like hold money hostage, and they're like, you're mine forever, even though whenever you die, it's not going to go with you. So spend it how you want it, enjoy your life, take vacations, like, enjoy your money. You don't have to be like suffocating it, right? And at the same time, you shouldn't just be like throwing it all away, quote unquote, throwing it all away, because you just don't know how to find that balance, right? Life is a complete balance. As much as you earn money, you should save it and you should spend it. It's your life to live. And so obviously, if you're saving for a house and you have to skip out on a couple events because, your friends are like, hey, let's go to the bar, let's go here, let's go there. You know that you're ultimately saving your money to make a really big investment that you know that you want to make. But it's also important to be like, am I not going because I just don't feel like I deserve to treat myself to something? So think about these things. Think about how it is that you're responding to the world, and the world will in turn show you who you are. Alrighty, so they gave us an exercise to do. So in this exercise, you need to take a deep breath, and then you need to blow it out. Okay, so think about how the first time you came into the world, this is what you did. You literally took a breath, and then you gave one away. So they also ask for you to take a deep breath and hold it in for 4 minutes. right? You can't do that, right? You can't do that. So that's about somebody who takes and never gives. You take a breath and you don't give. And so what about if you were to, instead of taking a breath in, you just blow out for 4 minutes? You're just exhaling for 4 minutes. You can't do that either. And so that is what happens whenever people give and they never take. And so both don't feel good in your nervous system, both don't feel good in your body. So you need to practice breathing in and out. You breathe in and out. That's the balance of wealth. You receive, you give, you receive, you give. And it doesn't always have to be through money. I think that's what a lot of people misconstrue, is that, oh, in order for me to give, I need to, here's, like, think of like major celebrities, like, oh, I have to give money. Like, that's the way that I give back. And that's not true. You can give back through your music that you make, through your teachings, through any of your talents, your writings, through community service. There are many ways to give back, creative ways for you to give back, that are in turn even better than money, right? Like, if you were to ask, somebody who's lost a loved one, would you rather have $1,000 from them, or would you rather be able to spend half an hour talking to them again? I would think most people would pick being able to see your loved one again for 30 minutes and to spend time with them, to hold them, to hug them. And so those things in turn end up being so much more valuable than money, but it's that we tend to place money above these things. So, I grew up hearing money doesn't grow on trees, but in reality, it does. Money does grow on trees. Money is from a tree. You get what I'm saying? That's why it's like, it is energy, but here we are taught to put these things above us. Somebody literally said, here's a coin, here is gold, here is silver. We're going to put a, dollar sign on it, and this is what it's worth. And so we decided to take value from that. But back in the day, it was just exchange. It was a bartering system. Okay, I'll trade you 5 apples for, I don't know, 2 bananas. And so it's like, it could have been through food. It could have been through services. It could have been through literally anything. But here we are putting things above ourselves. So another exercise that she gave is, think of the things that you require and not want. And so whenever you say, I want something, there's like this feeling of longing, right? I want to be wealthy. I want to be debt-free. I want to be these things. It's like, oh, it's so far away from me. It's this longing for it. And so instead of saying, I want, say, I require. I require to be debt-free. I require to have phenomenal wealth. I require to have a raise at my job. By saying you require things, you're now sending out a different message into the universe, saying, like, this is my bare minimum. This is my needs being met. And so in turn, things will start flowing to you in a different way. And so there is another exercise, it's a bunch of exercises, where she talks about how you should close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, and you should say, I am worthy of wealth. I am deserving of wealth. I deserve wealth. And so, you're going about saying these things, and it's important to know what it is that you're feeling. So if by saying these things, you're feeling sad, it's because you don't feel like it's true. You don't feel like you're deserving of wealth. You don't feel like you are worthy of wealth. If you're angry, it's because you don't think it's true. You don't believe it. And so you're like upset at that. If you're scared, it's because you're afraid of change. You're afraid of changing what it is that you want to believe about things like money. If you think this is like, oh, this is silly, like this is dumb, like I don't know why I'm doing this, then that means that you don't believe in any of this, right? You think it's just fake. You think it's all a facade. You don't believe money is energy, etc. But if you have any feeling of positivity or enjoyment, your brain isn't telling you like, wow, I actually really like this feeling. This does feel nice for me to experience wealth in this way. And so your mind enjoys and likes and appreciates whatever is familiar. So it's crazy that in this interview, she doesn't, it goes back to manifesting and affirming. It's saying these things, affirming what it is that you want. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am abundant. I am light. I am love. I am deserving of wealth. I am deserving of money. And the more that you say it, at first you're like, oh, I don't agree with this. I don't think that this is true. But the more that you they say repetition dissolves your disbelief. The more that you could keep on repeating it, the more that you start rewiring your brain, because you have to realize this is the ball of yarn of all of your life experiences surrounding money, or literally anything it is that you want to manifest. You have to now unravel that, right? So every single time somebody was like, hey, this is about money, this is this, oh, we can't spend it, oh, we don't have any, oh, you can't get that, we don't have enough. Now you're trying to tell yourself, yes, we do. There's plenty to go around. I have enough. I am deserving of wealth. And so now you're having to unravel that ball of yarn. And she says it doesn't take as much time as it took to build that belief, which I totally agree. I've rewired my brain. And sometimes it just takes you just meditating and sitting there and maybe even scripting, writing things down like, I am love, I am light, I am wealthy, I have a roof over my head, I have food in the fridge, I have a computer, I have a water bottle. Like, there's so much that I do have. And so sometimes it's about practicing gratitude with what it is that you do have, and allowing that joy to flow through you. And so think about it as whenever somebody gives you a compliment, which I thought that this was really interesting. So what happens a lot, especially with women, is that we reject compliments. So if somebody says, oh, like, I like your hair. Oh, I like this. And you're just like, oh, no, it was no biggie. Like, no problem. Oh, like, it's nothing. Oh, my hair, you think it looks good? I literally did it in like 20 minutes. And so you're like immediately meeting positive energy with something that's negative. And so another thing that women do as well is they say sorry so much. Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, sorry, I'm running late. Sorry, I didn't go to this, whatever. We're always so like apologetic. And so what you should do is just saying thank you. So thank you. Like, oh, I love your hair. Oh, thank you so much. And if you want to share like, oh, I use these products or whatever, like, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you have a good day. Like, just learning to take a compliment, but also to understand that instead of saying sorry, say like, thank you. So like, thank you for waiting on me. Thanks for helping me understand how this works, instead of, sorry, I can't understand this. Women, we just not technology savvy. Like, we're so quick as humans, and especially women, to like put ourselves down. And so it's about like just saying thank you and allowing things to be. Thank you so much for waiting on me. It almost reminds me of like Queen Clarice from Princess Diaries. Like, thank you for being here today. And it's just like, thank you, and it's just like, yeah, you should be saying thank you. It's a very positive feeling. And so you should be grateful. And so I lost my place in here. Okay, let's see what else we have to cover. So another thing that, she talks about is obviously self-talk, and to, change your language about how you see things, to not don't work harder, work smarter. That's what a lot of people have been hearing lately. I also heard that on a different podcast this morning. Don't work harder, work smarter. And so, she mentions to find a mentor. So say that there's, an avenue that you want to pursue. There's people who have done it before you. And so what can you do? You can reach out to people like, hey, I saw that you opened a car wash business. I really want to open up one as well. Like, what were some of the things that you had to learn? Or like, I'd love to take you out to lunch so that I can pick your brain, those kinds of things. And so when it comes to changing your mind, your brain, your subconscious beliefs, she talks about how important it is to affirm what it is that you want. And think about, what does it require of you? So like, we could just throw this back to like fitness. I am strong, right? Like, I am strong, I am athletic. Okay, well, what does an athletic person do? They go to the gym, they eat healthy, they do these things. And so adapt that personality, walk into that, step into that. What does an entrepreneur do? What does a business owner do? What does their day-to-day look like? And step into that. That is who I am now. Like, now I'm embodying what that person does. And so in turn, like, of course, these things that you're manifesting are just going to come flying to you because you believe it, because you actually did it, So it's like, just work on your subconscious beliefs, and in turn, things will start coming your way. It's important to respect money. You shouldn't feel like you're wasting it. If you don't want to spend $200 on a white t-shirt that's a brand name, she's like, that's okay. If you think fine dining is a waste of time, that is okay. If you'd rather spend money on things that you enjoy, that bring you joy, that's like books or something, that's okay. It's okay to still be wealthy and to just be like, yeah, I've just never been one for first class. It's just never really been my thing. But I love, going jet skiing. I have several jet skis. Or, if you say like, yeah, name brands, it's never called to me. That's just not really who I am. But you know what I love? I love my jet. I love riding in my jet. So it's okay to have your own preferences. And so I thought that was really interesting because, I mean, it is true. Like not you know, every person in this world has the same goals, has the same dreams, has the same desires. Like my sister likes things and I like other things, and my mom likes some things and I like other things, and etc. Like we all have our own different opinions and beliefs, and so we can change our beliefs, and it's okay to still have preferences. And so so then she brings up the fact that, like, what if you're with somebody who is not in tune with your perspective on things? And so she was saying to not go about it as like trying to convince them to come over here and to think like this, like, oh, you have a limiting belief, you should come over here and let's change that perspective. Like, you shouldn't feel like you're having to like fix somebody or anything. Instead, like, stand tall in your belief and come to a middle ground and to a compromise. And instead share with them pieces of information like, oh, today I learned about this when it came to manifesting, or I learned this when it came to limiting beliefs. And you just like slowly start to like just feed them information whenever they're receptive to it. And then in turn, slowly their mind will start changing. Another interesting thing that she brought up was, whenever you're teaching your kids to do math, don't just teach them 1 + 1 = 2. Teach them, if you have a house and if you have a house and you buy another house, how many houses do you have? 2 houses. Okay, if you have, whatever, just like start teaching your kids, not just like start throwing positive money beliefs into whatever it is that you're already teaching them, which I thought that was a really, really, really cool thing to think about. And she's like, also have your kids help you measure things in the kitchen. That way they have an idea of what measurements and things look like. And so, encourage your kids to be spending time with you and to be engaging with them and talking about things, and trying to instill these beliefs in them at a young age. And, maybe your child is already 7 years old. That doesn't mean that you can't change whatever it is that they're believing at this very point. Or maybe even do these exercises with them. You'll see like moms do videos on TikTok and they're like, maybe like, you'll see when we get fill in the blank. And like for me growing up, it'd be like, you'll see when we get home. And then, for the little kid now whose parent has changed things, like, you'll see when we get ice cream. And they'll like say something so positive, yet we might have grown up hearing something entirely negative. So I think it's just really cool to think that like you can instill these things into people at a young age. So she also talks about the DICC method, DICCC. And so she says, I direct, instruct, code, and command, and compel my body to blank. And so she talked about how she healed her body. You can go back to the interview and hear several ways in which she's healed herself, but you can essentially tell your brain literally anything, and it can heal whatever it is that you're struggling from. So say, I direct, instruct, code, command, and compel my body to heal from rosacea, or whatever it is that you want to change. Some books that she recommended are Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Trick to Money is Having Some, and any of Felix Dennis's books on money. So once I give those bad boys a read, I will let y'all know. For now, I have a longer list that I'm going through, so we'll see what comes up next. So that is all I have for today's episode. Thank you all so much for joining in. I really hope that this helped change your perspective on money and whatever it is that you're trying to manifest or rewire in your subconscious mind. Again, what you believe to be true is true to you. So it's time for us to stop thinking that money is hard to come by, or that money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever it is that you're believing in your subconscious mind to be true. It doesn't have to be true if you do not want it to be true. Comment down below what are some things that you learned from today's episode, and I will catch you in the next one.